Hi, I'm Peyton, and I am a late diagnosed autistic. I was diagnosed in January of this year, 2024, at 19 years old with level 1 and 2 autism, which I did not realize was possible, but I got diagnosed with level 1 in social communications, I believe, and then level 2 in restricted and repetitive behavior. Though she did say that the reason she thought I was so adapted or I don't know, she said my social skills were better probably because I had learned to mask. That made more sense, I think. But it's interesting growing up autistic and not knowing that you're autistic because everyone constantly tells you that you are faking it, that you're being overdramatic, that you're overreacting, that you need to just toughen up and deal with it, push through it. So you learn to mask, you learn to act like you're fine, you learn to grit and bear it, no matter how much you're suffering, no matter how much more difficult it is, you pretend that it's not, because otherwise you're treated like you're incompetent. So that's what I did. I can only speak from my experience because I am one autistic person, and if you've met one autistic person, you've met one autistic person. No autistic experience is the same, just like no neurotypical person or neurotypical experience is the same. Neurotypical just means that you aren't neurodivergent, you don't have autism or ADHD or dyslexia or whatever. So those aren't the only neurodivergences, I just don't know all of them. So I can only speak for my experience. And in my experience, I was undiagnosed for 19 years, so almost 2 decades. So I was masking and pushing myself past my breaking point for almost 2 decades. And I reaped the consequences of that. Like, I was pushing myself through social situations, through school, through jobs. I was pushing myself through literally every single little experience that I had every day because I was constantly uncomfortable and constantly unaccommodated. But especially like going to things like school 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, and like working jobs, it never worked out because I was so burnt out and unaccommodated, and it just wasn't ever going to have a chance to work out. Because I was just pushing myself past my breaking point until I literally broke and couldn't physically do it anymore. Like in high school, I would literally get to the point where I physically could not pick myself up out of bed no matter how hard I tried. I had 2 different entrances to my room when I lived with my legal guardian, so I would have literally multiple people some mornings banging on my door and screaming at me, and my 20 alarms that I had set going off back to back to back to back. That I did not want to sit there and go through that, especially because I'm autistic. That amount of noise, the sensory experience of that was awful. That is a horrible way to start your day, even as a neurotypical person, but especially as a neurodivergent person who has sensory sensitivities. That was horrible. That literally probably made it worse trying to get out of bed. But actually it 100% did make it worse. But still yet, no matter how hard I tried, I could not pick myself out of bed a lot of the time. So I missed so much school. And like, I was just always told that I was lazy and a problem child, and my guardian would threaten to have the principal come drag me out of bed and shit. Like, my door's locked, how is he gonna get in? You can't even get in. But she would just make appalling threats, like, that's going to help me whatsoever. So my attendance was appalling, my grades were appalling. I literally, okay, so I dropped out in, like, halfway through my 11th year, and I did not go one full week that entire year. There was not one week that I did not skip a few classes or just miss a day altogether or miss half a day or something. There was not one week that I went every single day. Most weeks I missed multiple days, to be honest, but I remember the last day I was there, I went to my first, second, and third hour, and on my way to my fourth hour, I was like, fuck this, I'm done. And I just got in my truck. I literally told my best friend from, like, first grade, I was like, I can't do this anymore, I'm leaving, bye. And I left. And I just drove home. And I just never went back. I dropped out, got my GED. That's a whole ass complicated story. But, I ended up miraculously getting my GED, thank God, because I had 3.5 credits in 11th grade. You need like 20 something to graduate. There was no fucking way. And I don't think I would have gotten my GED without the grace of God, because I did not understand 90% of the questions that was on there. I was just like, click. Like, I was lost. I was lost. But miraculously, I got my GED and I moved into another relative's place, and I started looking for jobs, because that's what you're supposed to do. I'm not in high school anymore, so I've got to go get a job now, because God forbid me actually take some time to rest and recuperate. Nope, keep pushing. That's what everybody always tells me. Doesn't matter how you're feeling, you're being over dramatic, push through it. You gotta get a job, go to work, do this, do that, do this, do that. The amount of responsibilities and things that neurotypical people keep up with, like, how do you do it? How do you keep up with daily just house tasks, personal hygiene, self-care, your own personal time, plus, like, socializing, plus your full-time job, plus hobbies, plus, like, all of these things? I'm just like, how do you do that? How do you have time for all of that? I'm so confused. So confused. How do you have energy for all of that? Maybe I would have more energy if I wasn't so fucking burnt out, but I still don't think I'd have that much energy. So I got my first job. Yes, my first job, I think. Yeah. And it was at a diner, and I worked there for about 6 months, and then I started out okay, but I just progressively got more and more burnt out throughout the time, and was progressively just pushing myself harder and harder until I hit my breaking point and I literally couldn't do it anymore. I'm embarrassed by it a little bit, but I didn't know I was autistic at the time, and it makes sense now. But I was just pushing myself so hard, and then one day I was a dishwasher, so I was just washing dish after dish after dish, and I felt like every dish made my brain just swell up a little bit more, and, like, I felt like my head was about to explode. That's the best way I can explain it. So I just pushed through that for as long as I possibly could, and then I just couldn't do it anymore, and I walked out and I drove away and I never went back. And because I have terrible social anxiety, I left my last 2 paychecks there and literally worked like so many hours for free. I lost $300 because I didn't go pick up my paycheck, because I just couldn't go back in there again and deal with the same people again. I couldn't do it. So I lost $300, and then at one point they had tried to train me to be a waitress, and I took my first order and then went to the back and had a panic attack. So that wasn't gonna work out. Like, there are so many reasons that, like, working jobs for autistic people is so difficult. We need to be accommodated. And I've had similar experiences like that with other jobs, and I've never given myself a chance to just relax and recover and just be a fucking couch potato for a little bit so that I can actually maybe get to a recovered state of mind where I'm not completely burnt out, to where my mental health has a chance to get better, and maybe I can be at my best, and then maybe, possibly, I could consider taking on a job. Maybe. I don't know. Because I don't know what it feels like to be at my best, because I've only ever been so fucking burnt the fuck out. So, I don't know what it feels like to be at my best. And also, like, it's so difficult to unlearn that push yourself mindset, because, like, that's been ingrained in me since I was, like, a toddler. So, like, how am I supposed to be like, no, it's okay, you can relax, you can rest, chill the fuck out? Because, like, anytime I'm, like, try to do that, then my brain's like, no, you're lazy, you're a bum, you need to get up and do something, you need to be productive, what are you doing? You can't just sit here and be a potato, like, you have to go do something. And I'm like, I have 50 billion things to do, and my to-do list is just, like, on repeat in my head over and over again, and I'm like, I can't relax because I have to get all of these things done. So then I try to get all of those things done so that I can relax, but it's, like, a never-ending list. And then by the time that I almost, like, sort of feel like I'm getting through it, I'm so exhausted that I can't move and I can't get out of bed, and it's just, and I don't have energy to eat, like, or feed myself or cook a meal or clean myself or do basic hygiene. Like, I don't have the energy to do basic things to keep myself alive. So it's like, what the fuck do I do? And, like, no one talks about, like, yes, there are different support needs, like, levels for autistic people, but, like, when you're a level 1 and, like, you have nobody accommodating you and nobody helping you, your support needs feel so much higher than they actually are, and it's just like, I don't have any help. What am I supposed to be doing? How am I supposed to, like, I don't get so many things done because I just can't do it. And I have absolutely no idea how long it would take me to recover from burnout, like how long I'm going to actually have to just let myself relax, because I've been pushing myself for almost 2 decades. So, like, is it going to take me 2 decades to recover from that? I don't know. It could take less, it could take more, I don't know. I've heard other autistic people's experience, and I've heard people say that it's taken them like 2 to 3 years to even start to come out of their burnout. So, like, I don't know how long it's gonna take. I don't know how much I need. Okay, I just wanted to add, like, there are multiple reasons, obviously, but these are the reasons that autism is considered disabling and considered a disability, because while there's nothing wrong with us, we have struggles that affect our life considerably. Like, this burnout, it's not just something like where, oh, I'm tired. Like, no, I'm not just a little tired. I'm not just exhausted from a long day of work. I am 20 years worth of exhausted. I physically can't get up out of bed sometimes. I literally can't feed and clean myself sometimes. I have such bad anxiety, and not every autistic person has anxiety, but a lot of us do. And I have such bad anxiety to where I will go to Walmart sometimes, drive all the way across town, walk in, have shit that I need to get, and literally be so overwhelmed by all of the people and all of the noise and all of the lights that I just have to leave and waste gas and have to come back and try again some other time because I have to get these things done. It's exhausting a lot of the time, and not just exhausting like a neurotypical person would understand the word. It is exhausting to our very core. can be kind of confusing when you hear people say, like, yes, autism is disabling and can be a huge struggle, but also my brain is just different and there's nothing wrong with me. That kind of sounds like a contradiction, but let me try to elaborate on that, at least to the best of my understanding. And the way I see that is, yes, autism can come with a whole lot of struggles and a whole lot of negatives, but it also comes with so many positives. Like, I would not trade my autistic brain to be a neurotypical person or an allistic person. I would not do that, because I may have all of these struggles, but they have a whole lot of other struggles that I don't have. I don't have to, like, and like I said, every autistic person is different, so you may not all relate to this, but a lot of the things that they care about, like trying to fit in and be socially normal and like not wanting to be weird, I don't really care. I know I'm weird and I like that. I don't think I would be nearly as creative as I am if I was neurotypical. And that's not to say that neurotypical can't be creative. I just think that really has a huge connection to my autism. And a lot of autistic people are super creative. And there's just a lot of positives to that. And like, I feel like a lot of sensory experiences for me, while they can be super overwhelming and bad, they can be super incredible. And like, I feel like I can experience the world in a deeper way than a neurotypical person can, if that makes sense. So like, while all of the negative experiences are a whole lot worse, I think all of the good experiences are a whole lot better. That just might be my way of looking at things. You may not agree, but that's how I see it. So yes, as an autistic person, I have a whole lot of struggles, but I have a whole lot of positives as well. And neurotypical people have a whole lot of struggles that I don't have, but they have a whole lot of positives that I also don't have, right? Like, they don't have to deal with lights and noises and smells literally overwhelming them to the point that it disrupts their life, like, on a consistent basis, if that makes sense. But we all have our own struggles and our own strengths. So while autism is disabling in the world that we live in, because there are no accommodations for autistic people, or there are very few, especially for autistic adults, it is disabling in the world that we live in. It is also not some horrible death sentence. Like, I'm not diagnosed with cancer, I'm not dying, my brain just works differently. You know, some people naturally have brown hair, some people naturally have blonde hair. One's not better than the other. They're just different. My brain may need different things sometimes, or different amounts of things sometimes, but I'm still a human being. I'm not dying, it's not some horrible thing, but it can be very debilitating and very disabling at the same time in the world that we live in, because we don't have accommodations for our shit. Your neurotypical people are accommodated for everything that you need most of the time, but our needs are just, they're special needs to you people. Go watch other people, other creators, so that you can learn how autism and autistic burnout and all this stuff affects them, because it could present and affect them very differently. Because like, when I was learning about autism and stuff, I watched a lot of adult female autistic creators, because I'm an adult female, so I'm gonna relate mostly to them, like the most, because we have the most in common. Like, the most similar the person is to you, the most you're going to relate to them probably, but that's not to say that you can't relate to like somebody that's different than you. But yeah, if you want to learn more about autism and things, watch multiple different creators, because we're all going to experience things a little bit, if not drastically differently. So, thank you so much for watching this video. I'm glad that you made it this far into it. Seriously, thank you. And I hope you learned something from it. If not, got some entertainment out of it, or was able to relate to it in some way. I'm sorry if you did relate to it, kind of, but like, at least you know you're not alone. I know I'm not alone. And I knew that because I saw other people on YouTube talking about the same things that I was experiencing. So, at the very least, I hope I can make you feel not alone. And at the very most, I hope I can honestly educate some neurotypical people so that they can learn more about autism too. Because, like, they don't understand. They really don't. I mean, not all of them, but like a lot of people do not understand autism or how it affects the brain. They just think like, oh, a 5-year-old that's obsessed with trains. No. I mean, it can be, but like, that's not the only presentation of autism. Come on now. So have a great day, night, morning, evening, whatever, and lace up.